fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to fight.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode 65, and this is a very special episode, not only because I have a stellar guest sitting across from me right now, but also it's the season 2 finale. That's right, October 21st will mark exactly 2 years since the very first episode of this show went online, and it has been another amazing season. I've continued to speak with fantastic folks, people like Rick Campanelli, Jon Dore, Tommy Chong, I can't even believe it, but as well as tons of local Ottawa comics. It's something I always like to keep focusing on whenever possible because there's so many funny people here in this city, and I can't think of a more perfect guest to be here right now with that in mind. But before we get into it, I want to remind you, if you're watching right now on YouTube and you would prefer audio only, you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other places like that. If you're listening on one of those right now, though, and you didn't know that there was a visual side to this show, then please come check it out on YouTube. While you're there, if you would subscribe, it does mean a lot to me. I'm still over the moon about hitting 1,000 subscribers recently. So if you've supported the show in any way, thank you so much. Finally, if you want to reach out to me, maybe you've got a cool guest idea or some general feedback, you can hit me up at justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. While you're there, let me know if you want some merch. It's a cool holofoil sticker of the show, and I'll mail you one free of charge. Just let me know. Back to the guest, the man of the hour, as I always like to say, the amazing, the legendary co-founder, owner, general manager, man behind the magic at Ottawa Yuk Yuks. It's Howard Wagman, and I feel honored to be able to share this conversation with you, so thank you. You've had so many amazing comics come out of your club. Norm MacDonald, Mike MacDonald, Tom Green, Jon Dore, so many more. So I really do appreciate you sharing your time with me. And you've got a bit of a celebratory thing happening for you tonight as well.
Yeah, tonight's a big night. We're opening at the Marriott. It's our 4th location this year. Pandemic hit, and we weren't signing any new leases, so we were homeless there for a little while. And we have a lot of friends after 37 years, so we were able to maneuver this so that we could move around and not close, which we're very proud of.
Yeah, it must have been a really arduous time there going through the pandemic. You guys were especially in a line of work that was hit very directly, and you had to keep shuffling things around. Is this hopefully the new permanent location? Is that where things are headed, or?
Well, in all modesty, we have to prove ourselves to the hotel. We have to, it's a big step because, the Marriott is a huge chain. They have certain standards. They need to make money. We need to make money. And it's the first time we're going to actually have 100 seats. So the pressure's on a little bit. It's been 18 months since we've had a real club.
It must feel fantastic having 100 in the audience, though. Yeah. It's got to be. Yeah. And for the comics as well.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I wish I could go tonight. Oh, my God. It's also the return to the lower level of a hotel.
Also fantastic.
That's like Albert Street was the old location for many years. The original location?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We were there for 25 years. We opened March 84. And it was fantastic because we had, a hotel affords you all kinds of extra things. For example, it's wheelchair accessible, which makes me very happy. My mom was in a wheelchair. I watched her grow up that way, and a lot of people got very angry with me when we left the hotel because we were not accessible anymore. They don't understand that we were in other people's buildings. We couldn't afford to renovate. We did what we could, but it really bothered me that we couldn't be accessible. Anyway, hotel, that's one thing that's wonderful. Another is you've got good food and beverage. It doesn't discount any demographic, either, high end, low end. Everybody is willing to go to a hotel to see a show, as opposed to our last place on Elgin, which was cool. It was, we call it a faux dive, if you want to go back to The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It was a dive. And a lot of people, 40, 50 and up who make decent money would not set foot in there. They want their comedy in a soft seat theater or in a nice venue. And we weren't that. We were gritty and we were dark and dirty. And you know what? It's great. There's a Comedy Cellar in New York, places like that. That's the way I think comedy should be presented. But in reality, you have to make money and you have to appeal to as many demos as you can.
I think that's what a lot of the comedians like, is those basement dwellings,
Well, yeah, it's the best way to see comedy. It's you shouldn't be too comfortable.
Yeah, you should be on the edge of your seat for sure. I like what you said about accessibility too, because I'm really excited to see Michael Lifshitz grace the Yuk Yuk stage once more. I know for him, he's not been able to in quite some time.
Yeah.
So that's really great. I wanted to talk, since we're talking about changing locations, what do you think makes a great comedy club? Like what needs to go into it to have a great room?
Well, you need low ceilings for sound and intimacy. And technically you need very few pillars. You can't put somebody where there's no sight line. It's contact is so important. It's intimacy that counts with stand-up. That's why I don't like, seeing Russell Peters at the Canadian Tire Center. Regardless of how good a comic is, you can't present the product.
Such a different experience. Yeah, definitely.
Intimacy is so important. So when we were at Live on Elgin with 35 seats, even though we couldn't make money, it made me happy because it was the right atmosphere for a show.
Wow. Before I want to just get to this, before I move on at all, I wanted to give my condolences to you for Norm MacDonald, because I know everybody felt that loss, especially people in the comedy community, but you knew the guy. So I just, I really wanted to say my heart goes out to you, because what an amazing dude he was. And I'm sure you guys had some amazing memories. Is it true that you guys saw Springsteen together?
Yes, we did.
That must be one for the ages.
In Toronto in 86. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys used to pal around.
We did. He was one of my best friends back in the day. Him and Jeremy Hotz were really we hung out all the time. We were the only real people in the business who lived in Ottawa at the time. You have to understand, it was other than there was this club called Andy and Flo's that was before us. There was no comedians living in the city of Ottawa till we got here.
Oh, wow. So you made the Mecca and then they came.
Yeah, it started the day we got here in February of 84. Jeremy Hotz and this other guy named Roberto Blizzard, who doesn't do comedy anymore, were standing there in the snow waiting for us to get out of the car to start their lives.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I know you've already been asked about this, but the tweet that went out back in 2017, I think it was, where Norm said that you chased him down Spark Street after he was feeling really low about the set he had just done, and you were adamant about how he must return. Excuse me. So I wanted to ask, what was it about his performance that you felt compelled by? Oh, Jesus. A little COVID cough there.
Oh, perfect.
I kid. Double vaxxed. What was it about his performance that really spoke to you in that moment, considering this wasn't polished, the Norm we all know, and clearly he felt he had a bad set. So what called to you about his performance?
Well, for starters, he was clearly a very, very smart guy. You could see that right off the hop. First time ever on stage, he had this beautifully crafted bit, which I'm not going to do, but about the three leaders of the country at the time. It was Mulrooney and Turner and Broadbent in math class. It was fantastically original, and it spoke to the way that they spoke about stuff that they had to okay, I'll tell you quick. Okay, so the teacher's going, class, I want to know what the answer 4 times 2 is. And Mulrooney would defer the question, as he always did at the time, to Turner. So John Turner goes, on the question of 4 times 2, this is a question on which I have not done my homework, but I will be putting it in an algebraic framework, and you'll have your answer tomorrow. And meanwhile, Broadbent's at the back going, the answer is 8, but nobody's listening to him, which was so telltale, right?
I'm sure that was very relevant at the time. Yeah.
It was so relevant because obviously, Broadbent was great and a brilliant man, and the NDP, nobody listened to them, right? And it was just, it explained the positions of the parties at the time, right? And it got tepid applause, and it deserved so much more. Anyway, he left. Everybody stays till the end of the show, as you know, because you're supposed to watch other acts. That's how you get better.
And mingling with other comics.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
He left immediately, and I was just blown away by that. Why are you leaving? Do you have any idea how good you are? But I didn't get a chance to talk to him. He just left. So I went after him because he had no idea how good he could be.
You were afraid he might never come back.
Yeah, well, I later saw that tweet where he said that he was never going to do it again.
That's insane.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Well,
thank you.
There's a lot of comics out there, in fact, most, who think they're way better than they are.
Yeah.
He thought he was way worse than he was. That's rare.
He's modest.
That's rare.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's so amazing that you had such an influential part of his story. And I'm sure the same is true with Tom Green and Jon Dore and all these other legends that have come from the Ottawa club. So
Tom Green I met when he was sitting in the front row with his little friends, and they were quiet heckling. That's how I met him. You know what quiet heckling is?
it's like when you don't have the balls to actually speak up.
No.
No?
They had a lot of balls. They were sitting in the front row, and they were quietly telling the comic, "You suck."
Oh, okay, like a psych
stink.
out more.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's even worse.
And so we had to kick them out.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I met Tom Green.
And you must be happy to hear he's moved back to Canada.
Very happy.
You guys, I'm hoping, have something planned for him to make a triumphant.
Well, yeah,
return.
he's very COVID sensitive.
Yeah.
And he wants to wait until the time is right. And he just bought a piece of property
Yes.
near. I think he wants to keep himself, a little bit homebody right now. I know he's working on his music. He's got a studio there.
Yep.
He loves his land. He's got a big piece of land out there, and you see all the pictures every day, right?
Oh yeah, I've been following along for sure. Well, and you were instrumental in helping me get in contact with him. He's still slated to hopefully be coming on, I guess, when we start up season 3 now.
Good,
But Glenn as well was very COVID conscious, so I've been going back and forth with them for quite some time. But they are working on another project that I won't speak about, but they wanted to wrap that before coming here.
Good,
So.
good.
And thank you for that as well.
Hey, my pleasure.
Well, I actually wanted to throw to my dad because he always asked the guest a question, and I feel like he told me what his question was this time, and I think it sort of touches into what you were talking about with Norm, being really hard on himself and people not making it or making it. So, Dad,
Sure.
if you will, I can catch my...
Sure. Yeah. The question I had, Howard, was just in all of your years of watching comics, is there a comic or two that come to mind that you felt were underappreciated for what they were delivering and perhaps didn't make it as far in the business as they could have or should have?
That's a great question. I think Bill Hicks, but he died young of pancreatic cancer, but he didn't get worldwide notoriety. But within the business, I mean, he's a household name. But I don't think the average person knows who he is. Do you?
No, I don't know who
No.
he is. No.
So please look him up.
Yeah,
He
will
was-
do. Yeah.
really good.
He was groundbreaking. And I guess another one would be Mitch Hedberg, another guy who passed on too quickly. It was a heroin overdose, but he was the king of the one-liner, and he was so good at it. And he could, when one-liner comics, usually it's like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 hit,
Yeah.
and you're forgiven the 3 that fail. But with him, it was like 8, 9, 10 out of 10, and so quick, one after another after another. I remember he played the club once, and he called ahead, and he wanted me to get a bass player, not this bass, a stand-up bass. So he would do beat comedy.
Oh, man.
And the guy would pluck behind him while he did his one-liners to the music. It was so cool.
That's really artistic. Yeah. We actually spoke when Don Kelly came on here about he opened for him, I believe, when he was in town.
He was here more than once. But
Oh,
yeah,
more than once.
yeah.
Okay. That's so cool. That's actually part of what I wanted to get into with you was, first of all, your history with Yuk Yuks and how it began, but also some stories I heard from the Ottawa Yuk Yuks that I was hoping you could elaborate on. But let's go back to Mark.
Can I name one more person before?
Of course. Yes. Sorry to
Sam
cut you off.
Kinnison. Does everybody know him?
I do.
Absolutely.
He screams at the top of his lungs.
So yeah, but he's so much more than that.
Yes.
And the thing was, everyone said he hated women. He loved women. He loved people. He was a fantastic human being. He was so great. And the irony of his death was that he was a substance abuser for his entire life, and he had just kicked it all. And 3 months later, he was driving, he was a passenger in a car between Vegas and LA, and there was a car accident, and he was hit by a drunk driver and killed. And that was just so awkward for me to.
Jesus.
Wasn't
I didn't know
Sam, sorry, wasn't Sam, I don't know if it was Sam, but an ordained minister?
He was a pastor or something.
Yes, yeah, Baptist minister.
Oh, there you
and
go.
so is his brother Bill.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But he had some sort of an accident, I believe, and it changed his personality. He had some head trauma, I had heard. Is that not
Sam?
true? Yeah, I
didn't- I
had
didn't-
heard.
I
Maybe
didn't-
I heard that on Joe Rogan or something.
Maybe.
He talks about him a lot.
I don't know, but I met him early on in his career.
Oh, you did meet him. That's something I was.
Well, he
gonna
played
ask
the
you.
club
Oh, that's
several
so cool.
times. Yeah, he had a rider that was a bottle of vodka and a gram of cocaine. That was his rider. And I remember speaking to the Toronto manager, and I said, you got to do this, right? And he said, I'm not buying drugs for him. And I said, you're an idiot. What I did was I went out and I got 2 of each, knowing that call at 4:00 in the morning was going to come.
Oh my God.
And it did. And he played my club again because of it.
Wow. That's going the extra mile. Gee. Well, I understand the other guy's hesitation to some degree that, he could become caught up in all that and legal ramifications and all, but that's still ballsy on your part.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I appreciate the hustle there.
It's all about the show, right? All the time.
Wow. Man, that's amazing. That's so cool to hear. I want to ask you then, because you got into this when you were only 16 working for another thing I only learned a few months ago, that Mark Breslin was your uncle.
Right.
So the great Mark Breslin, who started Yuk Yuk's in 76, and did you start there in the same year right away? And what were your duties at that age?
Well, it was just, I would work the box office and, hand out flyers and stuff. It was a choice of going further in school or trying this thing that wasn't even a thing yet. But I loved it. I went to George Brown College for food and beverage, and that's probably what I'd be doing if I didn't do this. It was great and all, but I thought that this thing had legs, and it did. And I traveled around and opened clubs for him, and got to meet some amazing people, and never regretted it for a minute.
Well, I thought it was kind of mind-blowing when I saw 1976, and then I looked up Just for Laughs, and that was 83, thinking, like, what did people do, fans of comedy, prior to that? I guess
we were pre-JFL.
So you'd have to go down to the States if you wanted to see any kind of live comedy, or there would be arena tours, I guess?
Or theaters, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a sad world where you can't go to the comedy club.
Right. There wasn't any.
Wow. So then in 84, you opened Ottawa.
Yeah.
And you're 24 at that point then?
Yeah, but there was stuff way before that, right? Montreal, I was in Montreal in 80. That was the first club outside of Toronto that we tried, and we failed. That was first referendum year. So that was a really bad time for an English business to open in Quebec.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like a city where they would love that art form, but that makes a lot more sense in context.
Plus, we learned a lot about how to not run a business. We were new at this, so I didn't understand that you couldn't get people to come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. So we're paying rent on a spot and only filling it 2 nights a week. Granted, it was full every Friday and Saturday, but we're still paying all that space for...
Yeah, and then you got to charge more for tickets on those 2 nights you can actually do shows.
But we had some amazing guests. We had Paul Reiser was there.
Oh, wow.
Jay Leno was there. Dr. Timothy Leary was there. That was the most amazing thing we ever had, I think.
Is that the guy who made acid?
The acid guru.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Did he do comedy or?
It was more of a slideshow, but he's very intelligent and was very funny. But the thing about that was the crowd that came. You should have seen these people. These are not people you see on the street every day. These are people who they hang on his every word. They're like Jim Jones, Kool-Aid drinking. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They're like his kind of groupies,
right?
Almost.
You know what I'm talking about? There was a movie.
Culty.
There was a movie called Chud. Have you ever heard of that? It's cannibalistic
humanoid underground dwellers.
That's what these people were.
A bunch of chuds.
They were like brains. They were like zombies, and they were dressed raggedy and ratty, and then they did acid all the time. And they came to see him. That was the crowd. But he was their god.
Was he entertaining though?
He was really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Man, I've got so many more questions here. I want to know why you never got into stand-up, because I read that you just never had that urge.
I hosted a couple of shows way back, like in the late 70s, and I said, this is, amazingly hard, and I respect the hell out of anybody who can do this well. Yeah.
So early on, did you ever get, like, I could see some comics being like, oh, what do you know? You don't even do comedy.
Well, you know what? They may say that behind my back even today. Who knows?
Well, after 40 years of running a club, I think that speaks for itself at this point,
I just know what I like, and I know I've seen what I've seen, and I know what works, and I've seen it generationally, and I've seen good and bad, and I've seen the same mistakes made, and I just know how to guide people because I've seen it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
You have that experience.
And I still love it. I still love going to the club on an amateur night and watching the acts. I genuinely do.
I can tell. Every time I've ever seen you, you've always been so just encouraging to everyone I've ever seen, including myself. And I am not someone who grinds nearly as hard as half the comics that you know. But nevertheless, I think you had a big influence on me doing this show, because the one thing you did say to me after some time with my guitar or something, you said, "You're very likable." And that was so much better to me than if you had said, "You're so funny" or whatever, because it was, I always liked like late night hosts and stuff like that. And I kind of just ran with that and thought, okay, well, I don't always have to be telling a joke. I just have to be likable and make people feel comfortable. And, you know,
you got to play to your strengths.
Exactly.
And I always tell people that. I mean, you can't ask Howie Mandel to become a great writer. You can't ask, what's the antithesis of that? You can't say to Stephen Wright, I want you to be more animated.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God, man.
So you tell people to play to their strengths.
Well, speaking of people playing to their strengths and great performers, one thing I didn't want to forget was when you guys were at the Beacon Arms, the original location, I read that you not only had a drop in from Carlin, but also that Robin Williams had done Shakespeare on a customer's table at one point.
Both of those were in Toronto.
Oh, they were in Toronto.
Both.
Were you privy to them?
Yeah,
though?
I was there. I was
Okay.
there. Yeah. There was no Ottawa yet. This was in the early 80s. Or about like 81, maybe 82.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in Ottawa. Still cool though.
Yeah, it was in Toronto. It happened. It was great.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Carlin
He was in town doing a theater.
Oh man.
And he called during the afternoon. I took the call, and he said, "This is George Carlin." It sounded like him. I wasn't going to say you're bullshitting me.
Yeah, not to him.
And he said, "So I'm in town, and I'm just thinking, maybe if it's okay, I can come and hang out later." Okay.
Yeah.
I gave him my name, so he would ask for me at the door, and he came in at that night, late, like for late show, after his show, and he came in alone, no entourage, ripped jeans, T-shirt, just a guy. And that's, you know what? That's the best thing about comics, is no matter how big they are, they're 99 times out of 100, they're just a guy, and they don't change when they get success.
Not like a Hollywood actor might.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. They have the soul of a comedian, and that person is somebody I like. I like that personality makeup. They are that person, and they always will be. I love that.
Yeah, honest and raw.
Yeah, but more than that, they even if they are full of themselves in some way, they still have the soul of a comedian. Jerry Seinfeld makes how much money a year?
Yeah.
And he still goes down to the local club to do a set because he's got to stay loose and he's got to do what he loves. And that's what he loves.
That's fantastic.
And Jay Leno does it to this day. Still, he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the fame. He doesn't need the recognition. He wants to hang out with other comics and do comedy and be there. Mike MacDonald, before he passed, would come down and watch amateur nights, not to go on. He wanted to help. He wanted to. He would watch people's sets and then take them aside afterwards and say, if you do this bit with this in it, it might work better.
Yeah,
he wanted to do that.
I had only a couple interactions with him, but he was super, super encouraging and said, "Oh, you had some good stuff here." And I think I told this on the show once, but he agreed to even be in a music video that never actually happened, but kicking myself for that one. But anyways, yeah, sweet, sweet dude and hilariously funny. If anyone hasn't seen his stuff, they should go check that out.
Yeah.
Speaking of locations, I did hear that you maybe wanted to open another Yuk Yuk's in the future. Is that true, or am I getting my research wrong there?
Well, we got to fill one room first.
Fair enough. But you had like long-term goals of potentially having another Ottawa location
If
again?
there's a market for it, sure.
Okay. Well, another rumor I heard was that you might be writing a memoir of some kind or about Canadian comedy. Is this?
People want me to.
I think you should. I mean, the stories you've told here already are really, really cool. So
Yeah, there's a lot to tell. There is. I might do that. Yeah.
well, I wanted to know also if you had any major do's or don'ts for people that are just getting into comedy.
Don't expect too much too quickly.
Good advice.
There's a couple of cliche things like it's a marathon, not a sprint.
True, though. True.
We also say you haven't been on once until you've been on 100 times, because everybody who's on the first time says, "So what happens after tonight?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to tell you this before I see you. Whether you kill or bomb, don't carry too much weight with me, because it's one set in one mood that you're in.
You won't write a person off for that.
Probably you've got friends here. Next time, you won't do the same." Yeah. And you'll be shocked by that. How come it didn't go exactly the same? I said all the same things.
Oh.
I didn't offend anybody. What did I do wrong?
Yeah, well, the audience was different. Huh. okay, I know COVID must have been the most debilitating, crazy thing to happen in the comedy industry in quite some time. But prior to that, what would you have said was something in your long career
Oh my
that
God.
was the biggest shakeup?
The smoking ban.
Ah, okay.
I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again, but I thought that was the end of comedy clubs. What do you mean you can't smoke? What are you talking about? You have a non-smoking section. The ceiling is 7 feet high. What? Here's an ashtray. Now it's a smoking section. We thought we were done.
Yeah.
And I was completely wrong.
Well, I mean, there must have been people before in the smoking rooms that hated it and were glad. And
But everybody smoked back in the day.
Really, eh?
I smoked a couple of packs a day. I don't smoke at all anymore. But everybody smoked.
And nobody smokes at all anymore, barely.
You had a green room that was not even a quarter the size of this room, and all the comics would pile in there and they'd be smoking. You were just breathing cigarettes all the time.
You might as well smoke at that point. Yeah, you're going to be getting it either way. Oh, man. Well,
and they drank, by the way. Nobody drinks like they drank back then. We used to sell 5, 6, 7 grand on a Saturday night.
Jesus.
It's not even half that now.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, man. Well, hopefully you sell a lot tonight.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, all the best, man. I don't want to keep you because I know it's a big night for you, and I wish you all the best with the new location.
Thank you.
I do want to ask one last question. I'm switching up the season 2 question here. This is the finale, so I'm putting a twist on it. Normally, I ask who you'd want to have dinner with, living or dead, someone you've never met. But for you, I'm going to ask if you could have someone headline your club this week, someone who's living or dead, but that you've never met before, a comic that you really respect, who would it be and why?
I think Robin Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw him that time in Toronto, but you didn't.
I met him twice.
Oh, you did meet him.
I met him in LA at the Comedy Store in the bathroom.
That's cool.
And he's right next to me at the urinal, and he goes, "I'd shake your hand, but I don't think you'd want that."
I feel like you channeled his voice a little there.
And the other time was when he came into the Toronto club on Yorkville. We didn't have even have a liquor license back in those days. This was pre-Mork and Mindy. You know that show, right?
Yes, I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it.
I always talk to people like they're my age.
I used to watch it.
Yeah, my dad used to watch it.
It's pre-Mork and Mindy, and what you said, he used the entire room. He was Juilliard trained, right? He was just absolutely incredible. He used the whole room. He stood up on a table right in the middle of the club and held the candle up and did Hamlet. And I mean, he was funny. He was entertaining. He sweat bullets.
Well, he's a hairy man.
He sweat
Sure, that
bullets,
doesn't help.
and he was cut in those days. He was a powerful figure and so strong mentally, physically. It's a shame how he.
Oh yeah, terrible how he went out.
Yeah, but you know what? So many greats.
Yeah,
So many greats.
it's hard to pick.
we lose them, and yeah, Norm is the most recent, and that one really got to me. Yeah.
Well, and Mike MacDonald, that was a big one too.
Except that we knew that was coming.
True, because he was
Not that it's any less sad, but we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
He had that 5 years to the day. He passed 5 years to the day that he had the liver transplant. And he became a different person in those 5 years. He wanted to help others, and he realized the meanings of what he was able to accomplish and teach people and help people. And he became wonderful, like really wonderful to people.
Definitely.
At the end.
I feel honored that I had the chance to meet him in any capacity. He was a great dude, and I think that's a great way to end the show, talking about these legendary people. And thank you for your influence on
Hey,
getting
it's my
them.
pleasure.
Well, I was going to say thank you for getting your influence on those comics out into the world, because they might not be here if it wasn't for you and your guidance. So thank you for everything, man.
Thanks. I'm blessed. I really feel that way.
Well, you have a unique skill and you know how to use it. So keep
Thanks.
doing it, man.
Thanks,
keep
Oliver.
finding the next big stars. Shout out to the Ottawa comedy community, because there's a lot of really, really funny people here. And Howard has been guiding us Padawans as well.
Yeah, come down to the Marriott soon.
Yes, check out the new location.
You too, Dad.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
There we go.
Was that okay? Did I ramble?
Hey, Mike's Hard Lemonade. Fuck you.